Thousands of armed Kurds from Iraq have launched a ground invasion into Iran, crossing the border. A representative of the coalition of political forces of Iranian Kurdistan stated that Kurdish armed groups based in Iraq have already launched a military offensive against the forces of the Iranian regime. Kurdish fighters affiliated with the Party for a Free Life of Kurdistan began taking up combat positions on Iranian territory, as it turned out, as early as Monday, March 2nd. And against this backdrop, American sources report that it is the Kurds, supported by Mossad and the CIA, who may lead the next stage of the war in Iran. Let's discuss this topic together in this episode, because as soon as tomorrow it could become a key issue in the matter of the war in Iran. My name is Alexei Pichi. Let's discuss this topic together, but before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like the episode, and leave your comment. Under this video, by the way, this really helps promote the content on YouTube, and I would be grateful to you for that. Subscribe to my Telegram channel Pichi News. The link is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. So, representatives of Iraqi Kurdistan officially stated today, quote, ground military operations by Kurdish forces against Iran began as early as midnight on March 2nd. Iranian forces were forced to evacuate the border town of Marivan on March 3rd and began setting up defensive positions in and around the area. Fighters of PJAK, the Kurdistan Free Life Party, took up positions in the southern mountains of Marivan and in western Iran. Thousands of PJAK fighters are already deployed in the mountainous regions of Iran, especially deep within the Zagros mountain range. Let me note here that this Kurdistan Free Life Party includes two armed formations. These are the self-defense units of Eastern Kurdistan and the Women's Self-Defense Forces of Kurdistan, which, by the way, were created based on the model of Kurdish formations in Syria. It's important to note here that this statement directly from Kurdish representatives came amid numerous reports that Washington is considering Kurdish groups as potential partners in efforts to put pressure on the Iranian regime. Earlier, it was reported that the CIA is studying plans to arm Kurdish forces in order to spark a popular uprising in Iran. Meanwhile, Axios reported that US President Donald Trump held talks with Kurdish leaders in Iraq to discuss the ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran and possible further steps. Moreover, the Wall Street Journal also reported that the Trump administration is ready to support armed groups inside Iran seeking to challenge the government. And today, Kurdish representatives stated that several Kurdish political and armed factions, in addition to those already mentioned, are ready to cooperate with the US and Israel. The Kurdistan Democratic Party, the Kamala faction, and the Kurdistan Freedom Party are ready to join the resistance. But again, we need to be realistic here. I want to point that out. Although PJAK has several thousand fighters, the other groups I mentioned together have only a few hundred militants, many of whom fought against ISIS in Iraq and Syria. Still, they are all ready to fight. And so, the representative of Kurdistan stated that Iran is a multinational country consisting of many ethnic groups, including Kurds, Baloch, Azerbaijanis, Turkmens, Arabs, and so on. And he suggested that the weakening of Tehran could give all these communities greater autonomy or independence. Well, basically, this is a veiled call for separatism. And what's even more important, a representative of the Kurds officially stated that the future Kurdish state could serve as a strategic corridor connecting the Persian Gulf with Israel. That's why Israel and the US should support their struggle, as it's beneficial for all. And now I'll quote from White 24 News, which cites a representative of Kurdistan. Quote, "The Kurds are a powerful force capable of defeating Israel's enemies. Kurds and Jews are natural allies in the Middle East. Many Kurds see the creation of Israel as proof that independence is achievable for stateless nations. Kurdish factions would welcome closer cooperation with both Washington and Jerusalem, including the potential deployment of American military bases in Kurdish areas of Iran and economic cooperation with Israel." And now, today, Axios reports that, according to American and Israeli officials, as well as a senior representative of one of the Kurdish factions, Militants from several Kurdish Iranian groups are indeed now preparing for a ground offensive against the Iranian regime in the northwest of the country. The publication states that 6 days before the start of the war, 5 dissident Kurdish Iranian groups who had been hiding in Iraq announced the formation of the very coalition of political forces of Iranian Kurdistan to fight against the regime in Tehran. These Kurdish groups have thousands of soldiers at their disposal along the Iran-Iraq border and control strategically important areas. The publication also confirms that in recent weeks, Kurdish Iranian groups have transferred hundreds of their members from a camp on the Iraqi side of the border to the Iranian side. The goal is to try to seize certain territory in the Kurdish region inside Iran in order to challenge the regime and inspire a broader uprising. That's what I was talking about earlier regarding separatism. Interestingly, neither Israel nor the United States officially claim that they are arming the Kurds. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio told Congress the following at a closed briefing. Here's an interesting quote. "We are not arming the Kurds, but with the Israelis, you never know for sure." And according to Axios, the idea to support Iranian Kurdish groups and use them for a ground offensive from Iraq into Iran originally came from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and, of course, from Mossad. And the CIA joined this initiative at a later stage. It is reported that Israeli officials promised the Iranian Kurdish groups not only military but also political support for the creation of a Kurdish autonomous region in a future Iran in the event of the regime's collapse. And here's an interesting point. Israeli fighter jets have been carrying out airstrikes on Iranian military positions on the border in Kurdistan, as well as on bases and police stations of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in this area. In other words, they're striking exactly where the Kurds are expected to launch their offensive. This seems quite logical from a military point of view. I'll leave it at that for now. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you found this episode interesting or useful, you can support our channel financially with your donation or a channel membership. You can do this using the links and details in the description of this video or by scanning the QR code on your screen. I will be grateful for any support you can give. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.